Hello again everyone, James here, and I'm so glad that you're checking out this video. My friend Sam from the band Werewolves, one of Australia's greatest death metal acts, probably of all time, is here to talk about his band's new album, What a Time to Be Alive, which will be released January 29th, 2021 through Prosthetic Records. Now Sam and I connected over Zoom, and you get to watch our conversation play out in real time. It was a good chat. We talk a lot about the record. We talk a lot about the band's creativity, what he feels the purpose of death metal is in the world today, and we even dig into some of those really ridiculous song titles like Crushgasm. I mean, what does that mean? We're going to find out in this conversation. But before we get there, I want to thank you for checking out the Music Biz channel. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And don't worry, I'll be back soon with more of the content that you love.
Let me just start off right here, because when I saw the artwork for The Dead Are Screaming, your guys' first record, I work at Holic, so Prosthetic uses us to promote all of your music. So I know I see it come in through like the ticker tape of new records, and I honestly sent it to our entire staff. And I was like, would you look at this? And everyone was there was just a whole lot of OMGs and like fire emojis, and everyone was like, I've got to check that out. And I was like, yeah, I do. And we all fell in love, and then not expecting to start off the new year with another Werewolves album. But as soon as I saw the artwork come through, I was like, I didn't even have to look at the name of the band. I was immediately like, oh, they're back. Either they're back or that artist is getting a lot of work.
Oh, yes. Yes, he is. So the artist is a guy called Mitchell Nolte. He lives down in Tasmania, which is like an island just off the south of like mainland Australia. Talented artist, and that's the same area that drummer Dave Haley from Psychroptic comes from. So there's a little bit of nepotism happening there when we got Mitchell onto work. That first cover album that we got from him was amazing. It's kind of, I keep on getting requests and interviews like, how would you describe that cover? Like, what were you going for? And I was like, I don't know. Massive, erect, end of the world wolf god. And now I'm getting questions. Yeah, now I'm getting questions about this second cover, which is fair enough. Like we really give like him a long leash to just go for it. We provide him with the lyrics, and he's like, "What's the general vibe that you're going for?" And I think Matt's, our guitarist's instructions for Mitchell were like, "We want harrowing violence." And so I don't think he even needed to do up any roughs. We just got this picture of like that chick cleaving like that guy's head in half, and I saw that and we all kind of went, oof, yeah, that's it. That'll do it. That'll be good.
Yeah. And the team at Prosthetic is very cool about that kind of thing. I imagine you just send them something, they're like, good. All right, here we go.
Prosthetic are excellent, and especially for how we work, because we're trying to push the line and the boundaries with this band a fair bit. And once upon a time, death metal band could do that. These days, you push it too far, you say the wrong thing, and you'll just like get, hashtagged into oblivion and like completely cancelled. So, when doing the lyrics, I really rely on the other guys, but we also really rely on Prosthetic, where, we've said to them, look, you're going to have to be our minders here. We're going to do and say a lot of stuff that's off color. And when it gets like, you live in California, we're in Australia, like we're in Mad Max land, you're in like the cradle of woke. So, when it goes too far, you let it, you excise it, you let us know. We've had bands before where we have those record label battles, and, we're all adults now. So, we're happy to do that.
I think what Prosthetic does so well is that they work with you're not the only artist on the label where it's like, oh, there's some boundary pushing here. So I think that they do a good job of like generally promoting, but then if you like show one iota of like real interest in the project, they're like, oh, well, you can, what do you want to do? Like, oh, if you're game to play with this, then like, let's go with it. And that was the case with this. Like when I mentioned it to Becky, she was like, do you want to talk? And I was like, I do. Let's get the ball rolling. There's no, it's a wonderful approach. And I gotta say, I did not expect, I want to talk about like how you guys got to this record so fast, but on the note of how you guys kind of sell yourselves and the tongue-in-cheekness of it, I also love the press release, which most people will never get to see, for the record includes, I guess it's a statement from the band that's filled with these like wild quotes. It's almost like a declaration. I wouldn't call it a statement.
There's nothing that annoys me or the other guys more than these like modern death metal bands who are kind of like, we play death metal, please love us,
Yeah.
please listen to our album. And it's just like, oh fuck's sake, just this is the most violent like form of music going, or at least it should be. Can your words at least match the music?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think what was it? My press release decried other bands who hide the shame of love in their hearts and have skinny arms and are wimps and we'll kill them all. You got to throw it out there. I think a lot of bands like they kind of forget in the PR and the interview stage that they're still entertainers. You got to say something that's going to make people go and listen for a bit. So yeah, we'll always just go completely out. I just try and sit there and channel hunt, death metal Hunter S. Thompson and go for it.
Yeah. Well, I think otherwise your eyes just kind of glaze over, because I have read a billion press releases about, a death metal band or a brutal slam band or whatever being like, it's really an existentialist exploration of what it means to be human and like our place in the universe. And you're like, so you're saying the song is 7 minutes long. That's what you're trying to tell me. You're just like trying to explain why everything is so long on your record. And yeah, you read this statement, which most people may never see, and then you get into the actual album and it literally starts with a song called I Don't Like You. I'm pretty sure that's the first line on the song. You're like, okay, we are like throwing down a gauntlet. This is what it is. If you want to continue, there is more to come. And if it's not for you, then like, at least we got that out of the way on the first track.
Yeah, if they don't like the first 10 seconds, they're not going to like the next 30 minutes. So, we're not one of these sort of like kind of Deftones sort of bands where you have to listen to the entire thing like 5 times and take up 3 hours of your life. Like you can get in 15, 20 seconds later, it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is for me. Or it's like, no, I'm going to go back to fucking Blood Incantation or something like that and enjoy analog music.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, tell me,
we're not about wasting anyone's time.
I want to know a little bit about the origin of the band. So for anyone that's checking this out and hasn't really listened to the band that much, you guys are either the most cursed or the most perfectly timed band in the world, because both of your albums are immediately followed by global catastrophes, or at least large scale catastrophes. The first album was followed by the wildfires in Australia, which you mentioned. The second one is riding the wave of a global pandemic. Plus there was the pandemic started right after the first record. So you guys, have you guys even played a show yet as a band? Have you played many shows as a band? I feel like you have all this material. I want to hear it live. I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
At this stage, I don't know if it's a good idea that we play a show as a band. Like, Comet will probably slam into Greenland or something like that, and there'll be tsunamis for everyone. But we haven't played a show yet. Just pretty much, I live in a town called Adelaide. The other guys live in a town called Melbourne. It's about 800 kilometers apart. In Australian terms, they're relatively close, but unfortunately, we were going to spend a lot of 2020, getting together and doing shows. I visit Melbourne a fair bit, but yeah, just like the borders slammed shut. Not only that, Melbourne was in a 6-month lockdown where people couldn't go more than 5 k's past like their home address. So gigs were off the menu then, and to be honest, I think gigs are still off the menu now. Everyone I've seen who's like dashed out there booking in shows for this year has had to back it up a bit. And I think until you get past the halfway point of the year, you just like, I don't want to book in a show you're going to be second guessing like up until the moment you step on a stage, let alone wondering if aliens are going to materialize and nuke half the fucking earth, like which could bloody well happen the way things are going. Yeah, it's amazing. Like I think we got to the start of this month and I went, all right, most bands are kind of like, okay, so the album gets released at the end of this month. Now we're on the day's countdown and we're starting to count down on social media and just basically starting to count down. And then it's like, oh, it's a coup in America. Awesome. And I think if you check our Twitter for the day, it says something like, Jesus Christ, this always happens whenever we release a fucking album. So yeah, I don't know if it's a good idea to do shows. God, could you imagine if we did a tour?
Yeah. Ugh, disaster everywhere. But maybe,
someone would get eaten.
It really says something about the power of making angry music that it elicits a global response, whether or not you're trying to.
Yeah.
The band The Planet tried to stop.
Look, we notice this whenever you make like really try and go off the deep end of death metal. Like I remember back in the day with Berserker, like 20 years ago, we had something we called the Berserker curse, where anytime you tried to record an album, everything would go wrong. You'd lose jobs, like you'd lose girlfriends, you'd lose relationships, friends would die, like, you know, it'd just be disaster, you know. And we've got the DVD for posterity as well, so you can see like, you know, the Berserker's like computer blowing up like repeatedly just doing the first album. So yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of extreme metal bands will tell you this as well. Whenever you go to do an album, just shit happens. Like, so just everything goes wrong. And that's probably why we try and record so fast and write so fast. It's kind of like, you know, we're a bit of a moving target, like, and it makes it hard for disaster to hit us. It just kind of like goes down. We miss the band. Oh well, just have to get the world.
There's a line in the press release that says Matt has already written all the albums to number 6. Is that somewhat true? Does he have a mountain of content for you guys?
Man, check it out. No cross fingers. It's 100% true. He's written it. He's not only written, oh my God, he's a freak. He's not only written through to album number 6, but he's also written the first album for about 3 other bands as well. So he's been on a complete writing binge. A lot of that is just because, like, you know, Melbourne lockdown, he couldn't go anywhere. Like, he could go to work and then go home. So he's not going out to gigs. He's not playing shows. He's not burning off all that freakish energy that he's got. So yeah, just like dude got busy, and you know, Dave Haley just like spends all his life behind a kit drumming anyway. So yeah, it's no effort for those guys to get music done.
Yeah, and then where do you come in? Like, are you somebody that lockdown happened and you were like, let's be creative, or did you get lost in the haze of like, what am I supposed to do with myself?
I'm the slowpoke. I'll be quite honest here. I was very lucky actually. Like the city and the state that I was in had all of 6 days lockdown, and the rest of the time it's been pretty normal down here in Adelaide. So I've been able to live a normal life, except, you know, I can't fly across borders or anything like that. But I've still been holidaying and camping and like catching up with friends and eating out at restaurants and going outside and doing stuff. So like, yeah, it's almost sort of like life's been normal for me, but these freaks are just like pounding out the music, and I'm just kind of like, fuck, I've got to keep up somehow. So yeah, it's I've been busy, but it's been me getting dragged along by those guys. I'll be totally honest. The problem I got as well is like I do the lyrics, and with the music, it's all right to like do 6 kind of albums, same style, same homogenous kind of like thing. But I think like with albums, you've really got to like put a little bit of time between doing the lyrics for each one. Otherwise, it's the same sort of feel, and it's all right to have like kind of, you know, Werewolves will always be like caveman riffs, hairy knuckles, like thick-headed brutality with a neck like, you know, like that guy that got arrested. You know, it's always going to be kind of like that, but you've got to have a little different twist on the theme, and unfortunately I don't think there's any way around that other than just like spacing out the lyrics, you know, lyric writing between each album for like 6 to 8 months. I don't want it to just be this big drooling stream of consciousness.
Okay, with that in mind, can you talk about finding the new take on it? I mean, you guys, we say this as if it took a long time to get from the Dead Are Screaming to the new record, but it has not. So how did you find that pivot of like, okay, this is how we go from writing this record to writing that album, the new one?
It's oh god. Well, look, I got to describe the first album like first. You know, it happened like quick. The guys sort of like hired me on the Friday. You know, they were like, want to do a death metal band, and like Matt's, I reckon, the best metal guitarist in Australia. Dave's like one of the top metal drummers in the world. So I was like, yeah,
sure.
And I'm thinking it's going to go at the normal death metal pace. It'll take them like a month or 2 to write some material, and then we'll like sort of like have one of those jams where it's like, all right, dung, all right, everyone stop for cones, and No, like they hired me on the Friday, and by the Monday, Matt's like, "All right, here's 9 songs." And then like a week later, Dave's like, "All right, I've recorded the drums. Hey, Sam, how's the bass and vocals doing?" And I'm like, So a lot of the vocals on that first album, a lot of lyrics were just, I was just writing as quick as possible. I was kind of like, all right, it's got to be horrible and it's got to match whatever the music is. So I gotta be honest, look back at that and there's some hilariously awesome stuff like in there, but there's also some stuff where I'm just like, oh, that's just filler. And it's a bit cringy. Second album, What a Time to Be Alive, had, I had a lot more time to start assembling stuff. And, if anyone really pays attention to the lyrics, which in death metal will be no one, if they compare this album to the previous one, they're like, oh, it actually makes a bit more sense. I think, there was a little bit of very wry humor kind of like in the first album. And that's probably a bit more apparent in the second one. And the second one is also more belligerent as well. And that's, I've got to be honest, half the time when I'm writing that, I'm just quoting things that like Matt and Dave are saying, like, our Facebook group chat. Yeah. So, it's more of a group effort than any one of us might lead you to believe. But yeah, that's how the writing came across. And right now I've got like a massive Word document with like the most ridiculous thoughts and phrases that have popped into my demented head over the last year, like just sitting there waiting to get slotted into album 3, which will be probably recorded over the next month.
For a release still in 2021, most likely.
We're being generous to Prosthetic. We're spacing it out a good 12 months in between each album. So
good. I mean, you're basically like you're almost like one of those Netflix series where they're like, we've already filmed the next season. You won't see it for 12 months, but it's ready. We know where it's going.
Yeah. It kills me because like, you're always more into the album that you just recorded. So yeah, like any of the latecomers who like are doing the interviews next month, I'll be trying to like muster up some enthusiasm for What a Time to Be Alive. Like, and in the meantime, I'll just be sort of like going, oh my God, wait till you hear the next one.
Yeah, just wait till you hear what I fit into a song this time. I mean, as a person that does a lot of writing, I feel like there's nothing more satisfying on a personal level than when there's like that thing that you set aside that you're like, I'm going to use that someday. And when you finally find a place for it, that's like more satisfying sometimes than having people like a thing. It's just being like, no, you don't understand. I've wanted to use this dumb phrase or whatever for years, and here it is. I got it in there.
Yeah. I know it's kind of like, it's finally found a home. But
Yeah.
I've got this bonus because, like, sometimes if you write, you'll know this, like, you can get a little bit wordy. You can sort of like, enjoy your words and it'll mean something to you, maybe less so to the majority of the crowd. But like, I've got Matt and Dave just saying the most ridiculous, hilarious stuff. Like, and I'm taking for the next album, I'm taking album titles from stuff they've said. Like, we're getting our photo shoots done for like What a Time to Be Alive, and Matt, like, I don't know where he dug it from. He's like, all right, here's mine, and he's like lying back in a coffin, like with some Ray-Bans on and stuff. And he's like, I'm doing mine encoffined. And I was just like, song title. So yeah, I've already worked out like one of the songs next album will be called Encoffined.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Done.
So yeah, they come up with the cool, catchy stuff, and I just flesh it out with a bit of words.
Yeah, I'm working with one of my friend's bands right now in a managerial capacity, but I know his writing so well that like sometimes we'll be watching a movie together or whatever, and I'll just text him and be like, "You're gonna write that down, aren't you?" Like they've just used a word or some turn of phrase, and he's like, "Oh, I'm way ahead of you. I'm already scribbling it," and then he'll send me a demo, and I'll be like, "How did you fit, a reference to Dick Wolf into this movie? Like, how did you do this? Like, what's happening right here?" That's the beauty of it, man. Well, I feel like you guys are in a really sweet spot because you can't perform shows, but you have not struggled with keeping your creativity going during this time.
Yeah. We've got a few surprises for people as well this year. Like, even if I imagine we'll get a chance to play live, but even if we don't, we've got a few things just to like keep lobbing out there and keep people amused.
Well, it's working for me, man. And I gotta tell you, guys, I did like the first album, but there is something about this record, and maybe it's because maybe it's so weird in movies. I feel like sequels never live up to the hype of the first movie because you can't really like have that experience of like I'm meeting these characters again. But in music, sometimes the second record works better because you're like, all right, I kind of know what's happening, and now we're gonna like dig deeper into that idea. And I feel like you really pulled that off with this album.
Yeah, like the first album, there was a lot of it that was kind of Matt's sort of vision. I think he and Dave were on a Panzer Division Marduk kind of spree, and we're really vibing to that. And so he had sort of like he was trying to get across like what he had in his head with the band. So there's with the lyrics, song titles, like with everything, Matt was kind of orchestrating a lot of it. Just going, that sort of thing's going to work. Ditch that. Yes, this, no, that. And so by the time we came around to doing this album, we've all got a far better idea what we're going for, what the vibe is, and the sort of material that's going to get accepted. So yeah, I was going to say, I joke in the press release, we play with the confidence of a band that's actually been together for longer than a month this time. And I think album 3 just we've left ourselves a lot of room to improve. Like we love What a Time to Be Alive. Again, we've managed to get that vibe sort of into it. But there was a lot of shaky, shitty stuff like in it. Like Dave was playing, he had a broken shoulder, and so he was playing, with a smashed up shoulder. I had a wart on my vocal folds. I couldn't talk, so I had vocal surgery last year. And I did vocals sort of like in that condition. I did a full Will Mortician. I didn't even change the strings on my bass for the recording. I didn't even take them off and boil them. So like on the first album, the bass is big and loud and kind of like a bit Danny Lilker, Brutal Truth, very raw and out there. Second album, it's a bit more traditional death metal. It's kind of like, where is it? It's not as in your face or apparent. So there might be a string change for album 3. And Matt is just constantly getting better. He's just like, just improved like by leaps and bounds, like even from the last album. So yeah, we've got and we're only playing at about 230 to 240 BPM as well. We can all play over 300. Like we're all started in bands that play over that. So we've got a lot of space to really, really amp things up. We're happy to go slow about it.
Amp things up from 240. It's hilarious. Well, before I let you go, I mean, since these are like there's some fun stuff happening. Let me ask you about 2 titles and see if you can tell me like where these come from or what these are references to. So I think the first one obviously is tell me where Crushgasm comes from.
I think that's another word that came from like a Facebook chat, like and it mightn't have even been like the Werewolves like Facebook chat, because like Matt and I also do Antichrist Imperium, so like we talk with Dave Gray and Sam Loynes over in England, the Akakoka guys, and their speech is as colourful as anyone else's. So if we feed something into that chat that Dave approves of, he might be like, full werewolf erection. He might say something like that. But we probably sent them some footage of some song, or I said something that they approved of, and they were like, I'm having full crushgasms to that. And it's just one of those words I had to like just, write down. When it came to the lyrics, it's just like, again, pastiching words. It seemed to start off like talking about someone who just sexually gets off on genocide. But then like by the end of it, I just realized on the way out that I could quote Madonna's Justify My Love. The phrase, poor is the man whose pleasures depend upon the permissions of another. Now, these days, that's not a good thing to say. That's the kind of like, get yourself, that's a hashtag right there. And I kind of put it in as a little landmine. I'm almost hoping someone has a crack at it, so I can just be like, why do you hate the feminist icon Madonna? Like, what do you have against her? We're paying our respect to her. Like, I sort of do that one. And then it ends with like the album title, What a Time to Be Alive. So I just really like the way it sort of shifts gears, not just musically, but lyrically, like through the song. It works.
Amazing. And like, we might as well just do the song right after it because it's the title that I reference the most often, which is Unfathomably Fucked, which is a phrase that I will now use in my own daily life moving forward. I'll find a way to slip it into business emails. So what's the source on that one?
All right. So look, we write the lyrics to all the songs first, and the song titles come afterwards. And we really sort of, when we do those, we're very much thinking, what's the impact going to be when someone's holding up the LP or the CD and like sort of reading it, and they've got to be like real, kind of impactful. And so you notice I only use the lyrics once in that song, and that's just to kick things off. But I just thought it was a good way to like describe something that's fucked beyond all measure. The Lyrical Inspiration, I've been watching that HBO miniseries Chernobyl. Have you seen that?
I have. That is a fitting description. That could be like the poster tagline at the bottom. I had literally just finished watching that when I did the lyrics, and it just blew me away. And I thought, just if the radiation leak had managed to tap the water supply, which is the thing they got the coal miners in for, it truly would have been unfathomably fucked. There wasn't another way of describing it. Like it would have been an absolute catastrophe, and the world would look extremely different today to how it is. The other thing as well was, by then I was kind of like, there's a little bit of an undercurrent sort of like stream running through some of the lyrics as well, which is just talking about, I guess, the depravity and also short-sightedness of leadership and decision-making. But that is buried under many layers of like brutality and, piss-taking and death metal. So, if some people might sniff that stream out, and if no one does, then they don't miss anything. I love it. I love it. You're like, there's a little, you know what? It's fine. If you don't find it, it's fine. I love it. It's spoken like someone that has written a lot of things where you're like, listen, you might not get it, but I know it's there, and I found some satisfaction in making it.
Yeah.
Well, man, this has been super fun. I didn't know what to expect going into this, but I love the first record. Like I said, we shared it around the office. So when the second record came in, I was like, we're going to do something this time to help promote this album, because I feel like it is weird to try to like find bands and promote bands that you love when you can't be like, let's go see them in concert. So I'm hoping that this will tell a few more people to check out What a Time to Be Alive. It comes out January 29th, and probably by the time a lot of people see this or hear this, it's out there in the world. They can go find it, stream it, preferably buy a copy. That probably helps you out a little bit more. Either way, consume it and get ready for album 3.
Yes. Seriously, thanks so much for the time here. I've used Horlicks a few times myself, but for everyone else out there grabbing the album, like go get into it, get fucked, buy shit, and you've only got like, not long to enjoy it, so you better rush out and get your hands on it, because like we're gonna get these suckers out like very fucking quick.
Yeah, I saw that. You can't even order the vinyl from the Prosthetic web store. It's already sold out. So you can get a CD copy from there if you haven't got that yet. And there's merch out there. I've seen it. There's a couple of different spots. So people go out there, find that, enjoy it. And again,
Walmart is selling it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk. I hope you enjoy your summer. I'll be jealous of you as it continues to snow outside my window here. And man, thank you so much for your time.
Mr. Shotwell, thank you.
All right. Have a great, I guess, afternoon, day for you. It's like 8:00 here, but have a great day.
Yeah. Cheers, man. I'm going to slap on like the sunscreen and go out probably for a hike in the hills here. So.
Rude. All right. Have a good one, man.
I'll try and hate it. Thanks for your time, dude.